we need realness. We need people who are going to be like, I'm successful in 2021, but 2019, I was broke. 2017, I was this. In 2015, like we need the steps, because if we don't speak about the steps, we're going to have people trying out to be entrepreneurs and like, damn, I've been an entrepreneur for 3 months. Why isn't this working?
Right.
Preach. What's up, everybody? Today on Blue Dope, we have someone that is literally heating up the streets, the founder and the creator behind Lit Brooklyn, Miss Denequa Williams Clarke. Welcome to Blue Dope.
Hey guys, what's up? Thank you for having me.
Good. How you doing?
I'm feeling good. I mean, well, my birthday was like 2 weeks ago, so I'm fresh off of, the birthday high.
Yes.
Set new goals, you set new accomplishments, and you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing it. So.
That's it. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Pisces season is still very much in effect.
Yes, it is. I'm literally saying happy birthday to somebody every single day these past 2 weeks. So yeah, y'all got this. Y'all running the show.
Virgo gang on this side. But yo, right off the bat, the name Lit Brooklyn is very self-explanatory, but what does the name mean to you?
What does the name mean to me? That's a really good question to kick off this interview. So I'm a very proud Brooklyn native. And I feel like Lit Brooklyn is just an extension of me. It's a way for me to pay homage to the city that raised me, basically. There's nothing like a Brooklyn girl. So I feel like the name goes without saying. Like, it literally tells people where I'm from, how I feel. And my brand is just an extension of me. Brooklyn is lit. I feel like when I named Lit Brooklyn, I feel like that was before lit became like a term in a sentence. Not saying that I started it, but I just feel I knew that I wanted to have a play on words in terms of having a candle company to keep the flame burning, keep it lit. And ultimately just to have the wordplay in terms of Brooklyn and included in it. So
love wordplay.
Yeah.
Right.
So just to give us a background of who Denequa is. We know you're from Brooklyn, but what's your descent? I mean, I know, but tell the audience what your descent is.
So I am a Brooklyn native, but I am also a proud product of immigrants who came from Guyana. Guyana is a country in South America. I am always bigging up my country where my parents are from because I'm super proud of them. I always say that immigrants are the hardest working people on the earth. They are literally leaving something that they're super familiar with to come onto uncharted territory and dominate it. If you anywhere you go, you cannot meet someone who's not an immigrant who came to this country with the promises that they gave us to basically have a better life. And our parents do that. Like, my parents are my biggest inspirations. Without like having half the resources that we have currently, and they still were able to like own property, still able to build businesses, stimulate the economy. Like, I always will pay homage to my parents in terms of where they're from. So that's part of where I'm from. Really and truly. A little bit more about me. I went to University at Albany, and I majored in Africana Studies, and I minored in English. Prior to that, I went to Clara Barton High School. I was not interested in being in the medical field, so don't ask me why I went to Clara Barton.
Most people that I know that went to Clara Barton are not in the medical industry at all.
Yeah,
so it's always very interesting to speak to y'all, see where y'all at now. Because when I knew most of the people that I knew back then that went to that school, they are not in the medical field.
Yeah, I don't even know how. I know how I ended up there. Like, so majority of the people in my family, like, we have this conversation. We're having this conversation a lot more now. Where like that was the acceptable thing to do. So
right.
like my cousins are in the medical field. My sister was trying to be a nurse, and I was just like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing. But like, I'm actually terrified of like, okay, I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. So in my head as a child, what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a profession where I wanted to be a professional scab picker.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, that's the thing now. That is the thing now.
It's a thing. You see like how they have like
videos.
Mr. Pimple Popper. I used to love when my little cousins got scabs and they healed. I used to love picking their scabs. So I don't know if like my fetish of that blossomed into me going to high school, but I did not have any interest in the medical field. Didn't want to do dentistry. That was just not my forte. So I literally was in high school just to be in high school.
I mean, in junior high, were you like picking, all right, this school might be good for scab pickers later on? Let me go, Clara Barton.
It was just a hobby, you know?
Also too, not even gonna, okay, so I went to a very prestigious junior high school. I went to Philippa Schuyler for the gifted.
Oh yeah.
All the Brooklyn people know that. Yeah, I still did not know. Like, I think that, like, obviously, like, going to a prestigious junior high school, they hold you to a higher standard. And it's weird because I always say that this generation of children nowadays, they have a better advantage than we do because they're allowed to explore their creative natures and all these other things. Like, 20 years ago, when you're in junior high school, you don't have the option of picking a creative profession. Like, they don't even push that. They like, okay, what you're not about to do is this. So, in junior high school, I don't even know. I know I wanted to own a business. I knew that because my dad was an entrepreneur, but I didn't even really have like a push in the direction of what I wanted to do because it wasn't really celebrated or tolerated to be creative. So, and then when you go to prestigious junior high school, they are not thinking about that. They barely have art programs. They barely have certain things. And if they do have a music class, it's technical music. So it's not anything that is, testing your creativity. So very strict too. It's like, you got to wear a uniform. It's in the heart of Bushwick. It's like, I lived in Flatbush at the time, so I had to take 2 buses to get there. So it's just like, to know, let me tell you something. I'm just glad to be here. Just put it like that. I'm just happy to be here.
People outside of Brooklyn might not get that trip, but that's a journey.
That's a journey. That's an hour ride
I took the 35 bus. For those people who are listening that are not from Brooklyn or not familiar, it was a trek, like Liv just said. Like, it's an hour and a half trek, especially if you live from Flatbush. But it was also an honor because it's like, you tell people you go to Philippa Schuyler, like they automatically held you at a certain, like,
they sure did.
I think our alma mater was to whom much is given, much is required. And that shit sticks to me to this day because it's like really some top tier messaging being programmed into your brain. And it's kind of like, it follows you throughout your adulthood because now it like, you're not settling for less. You're not accepting less than what you deserve. You're just like, yo, you know who I am. I went to Philippa Schuyler. Come at me correct. Like,
come correct.
You know who I
am.
Different thing.
So can we kind of fast forward to, all right, the inception of Lit Brooklyn? Because I mean, growing up, Denequa wasn't really sure. She just knew entrepreneurship was the way for her for the most part. So getting closer to how Lit Brooklyn came about and came to be.
So I left college. I came back home to work. I was working at American Eagle when I was upstate at school. So I transferred and I was in the retail space. And then I went to another location, another job, which was my first taste at like high-end retail. And I was like, yo, this shit is fire. But I'm also like, there has to be more than this. And when I was working at that job, I felt like I hit a ceiling. And that was about, this is my 5th year of business. So that was about 6.5 years ago. And I had quit my job and did not have a plan. Like, this was like 6 years ago. I was 25, 26. And I was just like, okay, what are we doing now? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing next? Like, we come fresh off of a college degree. I'm not using my college degree because, like I told you guys before, I majored in Africana study, minored in English. I'm working retail. I felt like I hit my window. I felt like I was supposed to be doing something more. Like I was like, this ain't it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like not knocking anyone who works retail, because retail is definitely something that I'm not knocking no job, honestly, because as long as you're making money and as long as you like what you're doing, there's no knock to it. But I just knew personally for me, this was something that was not, this was just not for me anymore. So I remember quitting my job. It was September of maybe 2015, I believe. And I was in my living room and I was talking to my husband. He was my boyfriend. He's my husband now. And I was like, yo, what if I started a candle company? And he was like, to know Kyrie is like to know someone who's just like, he with the shits. He's just like, oh,
yeah,
I mean,
let's get it. Yeah.
Sure. If that's what you, if that's what you want to do, cool. And candles was not something that was new to me because it was a part of my routine. Like when we were in college, like I used to blow a check on candles. Like I used to literally be like, listen, I'm creating my Zen. I think I was a self-care queen before I even knew what the fuck self-care. Oh, yeah. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah, you are.
Hey, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Live your life.
Before I knew,
be free.
Before I knew what before I knew what self-care was. So I was like, I knew lighting my candles, playing my music was something that literally got me in the zone to like write these papers. It would just did something to me. So like me telling him, let me start my own candle company. He probably was in his head like, yo, you spending the money on this shit anyways. Might as well like do this. And I've always been, if I say I'm going to do something, I don't know if that's like the Guyanese in me. I don't know if that's like the just seeing parents who are like hustlers in me. I don't know what it is, but it's like, if I say I'm going to do something, it's going to be hard for you to convince me not to. So I literally was like, yo, I'm about to do this shit. Do I know anything about candles? No, but I know that I love them. And I think that like, it's worth a try, you know, like I'm always willing to try something at least once. Okay, it don't work twice. Okay, boom. At least I tried it. Like, I don't like to live with regrets. I like to know that, okay, boom. Like, whatever I want to do, if I try it, I know it's for me. And if it doesn't work, at least, you know, what's the worst that can happen? So I remember it was a lot of trial and error. And in me, this alliance that I was supporting, they were filled with, like, toxic stuff. And I was like, yo, I cannot believe, like, for all these years, I was ingesting this nonsense. Like, I could not believe it. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do something, if I'm going to create something, I want to create something that's actually good for the environment, good for me. And when you think about it, me being a Black woman also, we're at the top of the chain when it comes to things that we are affected by in terms of our health, when it comes to fibroids, when it comes to anything that has to do with health. Black women are at the top of the chain of how we're affected by it the most. Absolutely. So I knew if I did something, I had to create something that I could be proud of, that I could stand by, that I could be like, you know what? I'm changing the game. I'm literally reintroducing something that's been around for years, because I didn't create candle making, but I want to provide something that people who look like me, that's one, that's safe, two, that's still popping, three, that screams luxury without like breaking your pockets. And yeah, but it was hard. Like, candle making is definitely a science. I told y'all I majored in Africana studies, has nothing to do with science. So I was like, yo, when I started this shit, I was like, I wanted to quit instantly because I couldn't figure it out. Like, it was just like a matter of, one, it's money being wasted. I told you guys I quit my job. So it's like, I'm not even sitting on steady income. I'm sitting on money on reserve. And it's just like, okay, you gonna blow this shit, or you gonna like, it's like, So with the trial and error, I was like, you know what? I found scents that work. And I didn't even realize, I was learning things about myself with birthing this business. It's like, one, I realized how resilient I am, because other people probably would have quit the amount of time that it took for me to figure it out, and also the amount of money that it took for me to figure this shit out. And two, it's like, damn, I really got a nose in this shit. Like, all of this shit smells popping. Like, okay, I heard you, sis. So yeah, that was the beginning of it for the most part. It was a lot of like trial and error, a lot of money spent, but I wouldn't take any of that back. Like I know you guys can all like resonate with something like this, like something that you're so great at, but you got great at it by literally trying over and over. And it's like, now that you got the hang of it, you like, I'm so happy I did not give up on this shit. Like,
Yep. So from a business standpoint, right? Kind of thinking about that first piece, I think everyone who thinks hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to go through with this, I want to do it, they think about two different things. They think about, I want to do something I love, right? but I also want to be able to have a profitable business. Clearly, you went to the fork in the road and you went straight, right? But how did you determine, outside of the love, that this would be a good business for you that would be profitable?
Okay, before I answer your question, I love the fact that you referenced the whole bar just now. You just thought that shit went over my head. It did not. Shout out, shout out to you.
Brooklyn knows Brooklyn. Brooklyn knows
Brooklyn in the
Brooklyn.
building.
Brooklyn knows Brooklyn. Profitable. We keeping it a stack. Like, okay, so I've been in business like 5.5 years. The last 2 years are probably profitable.
Wow.
The last 2-3 years are probably profitable. And when you own a business, you realize that there's no such thing as how to put this, because I love having these conversations, because I think that the more honest conversations we have, the better it is for the people that are coming after us and the people who are trying to do things similar to us. Yeah. You got to remember why you started. You know what I'm saying? Like your purpose has to be bigger than your bank account. You know what I'm saying? Like you really have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And I wasn't focused on profit. You know what I was focused on? I was focused on making a difference and making a change, and knowing that I stuck to something and it's sticking, you know, like it's super important to understand that when you are passionate about something, money is not even an object. Money is not even something that you're thinking about. You're just thinking about, okay, what is the footprint that I'm leaving here? You know, like money will always come. The bag will always come. If you go into something just focusing on the bag, I'm not knocking you, but I can't rock with you, because it's just, you don't understand. We're not even we're not even thinking the same. We're not even operating the same. Like I'm playing the long game, you know, like I'm not in this for, okay, I'm trying to be hot for like a year or two. I'm in this, like, this is the beginning of generational wealth in terms of like understanding that in order to like sustain something, the money will come. And I just wish more people understood that, you know, like I wish more people understood that. Like we're living in an age right now where it's like, everything is so quick. Everything looks so easy. Everything looks so popping. And it's like, it's not about what it looks like. It's like, what is it actually? You know what I'm saying? What is it actually?
For you, what is it actually for you? Not even for anyone else, because you're in this journey, you're doing this, and your journey is your journey. So yeah,
that's a fact. Like I've seen in the 5 years that I've been in business, I've literally seen so many businesses open. We had grand opening and grand closing. You know why? Because it's like, one, a lot of people are not being completely honest about what this journey really looks like in terms of entrepreneurship. That's one. And two, people jump into it and not realizing how difficult it is, like how hard it is, how like sacrifice is a real ass thing. Like you really have to be like, okay, I may not get a return on investment. You know what I'm saying? I may not see it right away, but are you in it for the long run? Are you in it to stick through it? And a lot of people are not in it to stick in it. They're trying to be hot. They're trying to be the next best thing. But we see it all the time. Like overnight success takes years. You know what I'm saying? It takes years of consistency. It takes years of believing in yourself and knowing that, you know, you're that bitch. And like, you may know that it's going to take a while for the world to catch on. But as long as you honestly, like nobody can tell me shit. Like, honestly, like this is like always been before I started this company, before I went to Philip the Sky, like my parents would tell you, my family would tell you, this girl is different. Something wrong with her. Something wrong with her ass. She's different. So it's like, it's either in you or it's not. And that's all I have to say. Like,
it's something's right. Something is right with you, because even in your story, what I love about your story is it's super different from literally all of the other interviewees that we've had thus far, where it's like, okay, everybody had an interest in certain something, whether fashion or music. They've always had that interest since they were a child. Sometimes you live your life and at one point you kind of just figure it out. It just comes to you. It's not something that's just, okay, you've always known you want to do this. Sometimes you have to trial and error and live life before you actually say, you know what? This might work. Let me put pedal to the metal and see where I can go. Yeah, it's a really dope story that you have. And that's why I really appreciate you. But like getting back to Brooklyn, we know a lot of self-care and beauty brands that have come out of Brooklyn. I mean, most notably, Carol's daughter. I mean, I remember the grand opening of Carol's Daughter. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, Jada Pinkett Smith. And it was a really, really big deal. So just bouncing off of that, what are some brands that have inspired you to start Lit Brooklyn?
I'm not gonna lie to you, like my dad's business. That was, so my grandmother on my mother's side, she was an entrepreneur also. She was a seamstress her entire life. She never had another job outside of that. Like it was Beulah and her sewing machine. Wow. And then my dad had his shipping company, and those were the first two people that I've seen not have a boss per se. You know what I'm saying? Like literally get up and work on their own schedule and do things their own way. So in terms of inspiration, I always have to go back to my grandmother on my mom's side and my dad. Like those were the ultimate inspirations. Like I've literally seen my dad get up at the crack of dawn and go to bed when the sun is down and do it all over again. And this is a man who, you know, his birthday just passed. My father passed away a few years ago. This was a man who did not even have an email address. He did not know how social media worked. He did not have a touchscreen, nothing. Like he was like, yo, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. And he figured it out. And when you have blueprints like that, I'm fortunate enough to have blueprints like that, where it's like, they didn't grow up in a digital age where there's like, okay, boom, they knew to have an email list. They knew to network. Nah, like what you get from people like that, when you get a chance to have that experience, integrity, you learn integrity from a very young age. You learn that, do what you say you're going to do, because that's how customers come. Word of mouth, before we have social media, word of mouth is the way that things travel. So it's like, if I wanted, before we had text messages, if I wanted Patsy in Canarsie to know what I'm doing in Flatbush, I'm telling whoever got the biggest mouth to make that shit fly. So it's like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with business. And if you use that motto, if you use that, like we go back to how old things were. Like if I always tell people this today or tomorrow, like if these things that we're depending on to run our business decide, okay, I made enough money, I'm not trying to do this shit anymore, is your business going to sink, or is it going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, how is it going to go for you? So you have to, it's groundwork. You really have to make sure that you're like tapping into your audience. You know who you're talking to, you know who your consumer is. You're actually like a nice person, a good person at heart. Because if all these things fail, that's the communication that we're going to have to lean back on. So yeah, to answer your question, my dad definitely was my biggest inspiration. I didn't have any brands that I looked at like in terms of that, because I didn't really know their stories. I didn't know like what they did to get there. You know, we see a lot of people that come and we don't know how people get here. A lot of people have small loans of $1 million. That wasn't my story. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are out here being funded, and I can't look at them as inspiration if I don't really know the groundwork of what it took for you. It's not for me to aspire to if you didn't really hustle to get where you're at. So, yeah, my dad and my grandmother.
Yeah. And the funny thing is about the word of mouth, that's how we met. We have family friend in common.
Yes. Okay. Cause I was telling people, I was like, yo, how did I first meet Olivia? I have no idea. All I know is that she's a vibe. I'm a vibe. She's Guyanese. I'm Guyanese. And that was just it. That's just how it works.
But we have Simone, who was your neighbor.
Yes.
And she's also best friends with my aunt. So the whole Guyanese connection thing.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Mentioned you to me. Like, she was like, this is years ago. Mentioned like, oh yeah. So my girl, Denequa, she makes candles. You guys should link up because you were on the same
And then we were on the panel together.
Yep.
Then we were on the Christina Brown's Love Brown Sugar panel.
That was a couple years ago. That was like what?
Yeah, that was actually my first panel ever in life. Like in life, that was my first ever panel.
Did she kill it, Liv? Did she kill it, Liv?
She did. She sure did. Yeah,
Olivia killed it too. I sat right next to her and I was like, "Girl, I know you." She was like, "I know you too." I was like, "Heard you."
Word of mouth.
It worked.
So I mean, through 2020, obviously, with the pandemic hitting, it took away a lot of the ability for people to connect, right? There are no live panels in person. How has that impacted you and your business, since you have, even learning from the entrepreneurs in your family, learned the importance of just that connection with other people?
I wasn't affected. And you know what's so funny? So in the beginning of the pandemic, I remember having an interview and I felt so guilty saying that out loud. Like I wasn't affected. Like I literally did. But then it dawned on me that I wasn't affected because I was doing the groundwork. You know what I'm saying? Like I was already low key preparing for the worst to happen. And in the event because I don't know, in my lifetime, that shit was the worst that could have ever happened. And when you're focused on, when you have a purpose and you know what your purpose is and you're clear on it, you're constantly in preparation. You're constantly in like, okay, nobody would have ever thought about a pandemic, but I'm in my head like thinking, okay, you know what, if my supplier runs out of wax, like what am I going to do? Like, it's like different thoughts that you think about, but I was not affected at all. What I will say is that as soon as the pandemic hit though, I took a breather because granted, this was something that was all new to everyone. And I sat back and I observed and I've noticed that a lot of business owners were scrambling. Like they were literally like chicken without a head, like really trying to like upsell their customers. And I'm like, yo, like, now is not the time to be selling nothing to anybody. Like if I'm keeping it a stack, like I was like, people don't have toilet paper. People do not have groceries. Like this is a second thought. But even with that going on, I didn't make a post for like a month. People were still buying on my site. People were still shopping. And I was like, yo, this shit is fucking crazy. That the fact that I don't have to say a word, but people are making my business an essential business to say. And they like,
beautiful.
2020 was a transformative year. Like I literally laid the groundwork years prior, and 2020 literally was just like a super transformative year for so many things. Like I realized my importance because, you know, not just as a businesswoman, but as a woman in general, sometimes you question yourself. Like, am I doing this right? Am I like, should I be doing it a different way? Should I be going a little harder? And it's like, nah, like I was able to be on cruise control. I was able to chill. I was able to really see the fruits of my labor that I've put in. And I tapped in more with myself. Like this probably was the most time that I was able to spend with myself, with my husband. I was literally like, yo, I actually like my company. I'm actually fire. Like this is dope. Like
it works.
It worked. And I was not affected. No.
I can definitely agree with that one, because within the pandemic, within 2020, me doing virtual events, you know, you get gift boxes. At least 3 of them had Lit Brooklyn in it.
Nice.
She was not affected.
Fire.
Denequa was not affected.
Come through.
Yeah.
Come through. And it made you appreciate things just a little bit differently. It was just like, aside from, on a serious note, aside from like clearly the lives that are lost and the people that were affected deeply by the pandemic and this disease, outside of that, like we needed a chance. There was never an opportunity for us where the entire world was shut down, because we're always in the back of our head thinking, okay, I gotta get to this event. I gotta do this. I gotta meet with this person. It's just like, no, you don't.
You don't.
No, you don't. You realize what's important, and what's important is what's important is different for everyone. You know what I'm saying? But like, I learned so much about myself. Like I learned so much about myself as a woman, as a business owner. And that time was I'm grateful for that time. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was super grateful for that time.
As my memory collects right now, I remember you being featured on a BET Her special.
Oh, yeah.
That was during the pandemic, right?
I think that was right before, and then it aired during the pandemic, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got you. So what was that? How did that come about?
So I got an email, and let me tell you guys something. I love myself because when people reach out to me, I'm always shocked. I'm like, me? I'm always like, me? I got the email and I was like, you want to honor me for BET Top 40? What the fuck have I done? Like, I'm just like me? Like, I'm literally like flabbergasted. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. It was so crazy to the point where I got the email and I didn't respond for like 3 days because I was like, what is happening here? So then she followed up and she was like, hey, so I was like, okay, bet. They pull up and it's like full treatment, like makeup, full on set. And I was like, yo, this is insane. And then when I look at the list of people that I was on the list with, it was like a doctor, like Olympic medalist. Like, I was like, wow, this is so crazy to me. But I'm always humbled when people acknowledge the work that I'm doing. And because it's like when you're in a work of like, because I call this like service work, because I'm, you're working for the people, like you're like literally trying to deposit things into the world for a better place. And I hope this feeling never leaves me, where I'm always shocked, where I'm always like, wow, where I'm always like, damn, I don't ever, because I see people get to the point where they feel like, oh, another one. Oh, that was expected. It's just like, don't ever let any accolade be too big for you to be like, or too small for you to be like, to acknowledge it. And I'm just always grateful that people see me. Like, to be seen and to be acknowledged is something that's not to be taken lightly. It's something that like people should wear as a badge. Just like someone sees you and they honor the work that you're doing and they're willing to celebrate you. So that was amazing. I just thought that it was just a feature. And then when I realized that it was going to air on TV, I was like, you should have saw me. Like, I swear to God, like I have a video of me watching this shit because I was just like, I cannot watch it by myself. And then when I came on TV, I was like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, look at my voice, hear my voice. This is insane. But I was like, them edges is laid though. The edges are laid. But that was exciting. It's also like when you get to do these things, it's like your parents' hard work does not go in vain. Cause it's like, yo, they dead ass like hustle. They dead ass sacrifice so much for you to have an opportunity to be the best version of yourself. And every time someone acknowledges me, I'm like, yo, I'm tipping my hat off to like, this is for my parents, this is my ancestors. This is for like, this is what we did this shit for, honestly. So I'm always humbled, super grateful.
It's a beautiful feeling. And like I literally saw it. I was, yes, with my phone in my hand, trying to screen record on the TV and tag you. Like that was definitely a beautiful moment. And you also you mentioned that you're in the service of depositing what you need to do. It's you're in service to the people. Yeah. So in terms of that, let's talk about supply and demand. How do you manage that? There's so many different fragrances to choose from in terms of candles. Like, do you see this as something that, contributes to your popularity in terms of the kind of scents that you have for the candles? And the amount of different?
Absolutely. So I pace myself. So I am definitely, what I will say is that I take pride in the fact that this ain't no other people candle companies. That's not, okay? You're not about to, you can't buy this anywhere. This drip is sold separately, all right?
Right.
That's a good question. I think it's an experience. I think that I created a company where this is the first candle company. I'm giving people a different experience. You go to shop for candles at a store and you smell, you touch, you feel. You don't know what none of these candles smell like at all. Like when I drop a new scent, I'm not sending out samples. Like people don't know what it smells like, but people trust me. And I think that when you have a business, you have to build trust. They know that one, come on, man, this shit is gonna be fire. Like off rip, it's gonna be fire. Two, you build a reputation where I've never paid for ads. I've never paid for marketing. Because once again, it's something that I also learned from my dad. Word of mouth. My customers who have actually made purchases, spent their own money, those are the real influencers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like when you see this word influencer being used around the internet, no knock and no shade to anyone, but it's like those people are being paid to promote a product, right? People are being paid to say that this product is fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People who actually spend their money on products and continue to spend their money, those are the real influencers because they have like, it's tried and it's true. So my customers who they see a drop and they're like, okay, boom, she got to drop at 8:00. I got to be on her site at 7:52 because it's not a game. It's not a game. It's like, and they get their product and they realize that it's like, she delivered on what she said it was going to be. And it's like, then people have their favorites. Obviously, like everyone's not going to love every single scent, but my drops, I try to do a drop every month, introduce them to something new. And I also like collaborating with like my favorite people. So like a lot of people every collaboration that I've ever done, it's always been where someone has reached out and it's reciprocal. You know what I'm saying? It's the fact of like, your audience is amazing. My audience is amazing. And you are actually depositing back into the, community in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel a way about working with you in a sense. So
Right.
it works out, but community is everything. I will say that. Building your community is everything. And also just trust is important. Like, you say you're going to do something, do something. The only thing that has been messing me up though, in terms of business and this whole pandemic, is the postal service. But
Oh yeah, that's all of us. Yeah.
other than that, I'm Gucci, but it's just the postal service. But it's about trust, and it's about building the community. To answer your question.
But speaking of community, we already know that you were not affected at all by the pandemic in terms of business. So have you built a team so far, from solo entrepreneur to now? Like, is a team being facilitated at all?
So I'm working on that. All of my friends who are like in business are like, girl, are you dead ass right now? I'm working on it. I am literally working on it. So that's another thing too, where the trust factor comes in, because it's like building a team.
You speak into the choir right now. I know what you're gonna say.
Building a team and building a business. I've been in situations before where I've been burned. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And burned to the point where it's like you have to dig yourself out of that hole. You have to literally, like, it's not fun at all. And with that, it also comes, and I've also seen my dad get burned, you know what I'm saying, in terms of his business. So it's like, I'm trying to learn from other people's mistakes. I don't want to, the expansion of Lit Brooklyn is going to come in terms of help, but I'm also like taking my time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm also like, when you work so hard for something and you're building something from the ground up and it wasn't something that was handed to you, you have a daughter. You're not about to be like, okay, my daughter's coming to go be babysat by. You're gonna be like, girl, no, absolutely not. That's a dub.
People coming over, who are you? I have to like really trust you for even you.
Facts.
Blue nose.
Facts.
I have to trust you for you to be in the house with my child. So
this is what I'm saying. So like, I'm 100% open to the help, because I realize that as a business owner doing this solo, like, you're either building a business or you're maintaining it. And I'm at the point where I've been maintaining it and it's time to continue to build it. So like, and I've been praying on it, and God don't play about me. So I know, like, if I make my prayers intentional about someone or some people joining the team, and I don't want someone who wants to be me. I don't want someone who is I want someone who is showing up full as themselves and has something to add to Lit Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing too. Like, you have a bunch of replicas, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also want people to understand, if you don't understand anything or take anything away from this interview, God makes us in our own likeness. And you can be interested in the same exact thing as someone else, but it's like, you have your own flavor for a reason. You have your own sauce for a reason. And when you believe in that, you'll stand in that. And this is another thing. I'm not trying to have, as much as I would love more Denequas on the world, we go with just one.
That's fine.
Now, I don't know if it's a guy thing, right? But I typically don't pay attention to the details of candles, right? I just want something that smells good, that's going to be safe for my house. When I take the light off of it, it's out. But clearly, I think your candles have a much deeper story behind each one. So can we speak a little bit about how you come up with the different names? Like, for instance, what's the story behind Hustle?
Ooh, okay. So Hustle was actually, so I collaborated with Mia Ray. She's on Instagram as, I think she has her name as like a mompreneur. I don't know, I'm saying it wrong, but she's like, that was actually my first collaboration that I've ever done. Nice. She reached out to me 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And she was like, hey, do you do collaborations? And I was like, no, but I didn't know like how that was going to work. But she also has a business. It's called Glamaholic Lifestyle. And I remember I was in Texas that year, and I had purchased her one of her products. It was a wallet, and I did like a flat lay, and she saw it, and she learned about my business, and she purchased my candles, and then she did like a whole review on social media. And from her review, like I had like, she's from Detroit, so I had Detroit, like it was just opened the floodgates for like people in states that I've never known before. So when she reached out for a collaboration, I was like, I mean, I guess, okay, like how does this work? How will this work? And we never met each other actually when we did the collaboration. It was literally through the internet. Something about her, like my gut always knows when I should move, and something about her I trusted. And the same thing with her, like she trusted me. We dropped the collab, and I was asking her like, okay, what do you want us to name it? And she was just like, I was like, you know what? How about let's throw out some names out there? So just doing my research on her, I realized that she is the definition of a hustler. Like she literally is someone who got it out the mud, who literally works her ass off. And that was just the best thing to say. And I was like, yo, when I created this scent, people like this candle, they get it in their home. I wanted to remind them of who we represent as women, hustlers, like we get it done. So that was the story behind Hustle. And yeah, so you guys are right. It definitely does have a story behind every name. I have to be in the mood. Like I have to literally be inspired by things. And I'm inspired by everything. When I go on vacation, it could be like a new food I'm trying, a drive that I'm taking. Like I take it all in, and I just like, okay, boom, I want to capture this moment and create a scent out of it and take people where I was when I was creating this thing. I have a candle called Irie. I was in Jamaica. That's where my husband's family is from. I was spending, I think my 25th birthday there, my 26th. I can't remember. I was on the beach with a coconut with some rum in it. And I was like,
the coconut and twisted all around.
Right. That's simple enough.
Fact. I was like, if I could capture this, and I also have a hibiscus flower tattooed on my foot. I was like, yo, if I could capture this. And then when you look at it, the hibiscus is Jamaica's national flower and all this other stuff. So I was like, I really tried to bring it home and I make it like an experience. And then with the Irie candle, I collaborated with Deborah Cartwright. So she is an artist who illustrates Black women. And I was like, this is what I want. This is the vision that I have for it. I want people to receive this. They light it. They close their eyes. They are on a beach in Jamaica, sipping rum out of a coconut with a hibiscus in their hair. Boom. Did it.
I like that. So it's safe to say like a lot of these collaborations are organic, because that's one of the questions we wanted to ask you, how do you come up with the collabs? Because, we see a skin butter drop coming soon. We saw the ice cream collab. So this is all organically.
Super organic. It's never something that, and I don't believe in anything forced. I feel like when you have to force things, it's not meant to be. And it's like, I just don't do forced. With skin butter, so I've been friends with Tatiana for years. And we started our business around the same time, actually. And we were always talking about like, let's collaborate. She was on America's Next Top Model, was a runner-up. Life took off for her. Yes. Life took off for her. She was like, now she's like full on model. She's killing it in the game while she's also managing her business. And she moved to LA, and, we speak periodically, and she's like, yo, like we need to make this shit happen. And I was like, you know what? Let's buckle down. Let's get to it. And that's what it was. It's just, we were friends, and I was like, we both have a business. Let's make this shit happen. When Mikey Likes It, one of my friends, he actually put it together. I was like, I don't even like food scented things. Like I don't. And
I don't either.
It was just weird to me, but we collaborated on 2 scents, Soho, which was a play on their Southern Hospitality, which is their butter pecan scent. And then we did Ice Ice Baby, and their other scent was the vanilla. So those were their two top flavors, two top flavors in the store. And I was like, okay, boom, let me create something off of that.
Nice.
So yeah, super organic. I don't like anything forced. It has to make sense. It has to be an opportunity to tell a story. Because we see what happens when people work together and it just doesn't gel. It doesn't work together. It doesn't seem fluid. So yeah, it just has to make sense.
Well, if we can flow into a Blue Dope Lit Brooklyn collabo in the near future, I would love that.
Ooh,
I think that would be nice. I really do.
Spicy. We have a lot in common. We're Brooklyn.
Yes.
We could definitely make this happen.
Figure it out.
Candle could be royal blue.
Yes.
Royal blue candle.
Yes.
Facts.
Like,
we could probably
smell like hydrangeas. Hydrangeas.
Yes. I see the vision.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We're gonna talk about this off the air, but we could definitely make something like that happen.
And, I definitely wanted to take it back to the science too, right? Because you mentioned something that's important. A lot of the candles that you found yourself purchasing for years had so many different toxins. And you spoke about using soy as an alternative. Like, for those that don't realize that, what are the benefits of soy? Is it because of the toxins? Does it, burn better? Like, what makes soy so much better?
That's actually it. Soy, it burns cleaner. It has no toxins in it. And ultimately, what you want out of a candle is something that's safe, but you also want something that's long lasting, and you also want something that's a slow burn. So soy offers that. There's a lot of people who use other things such as paraffin. Paraffin has a lot of toxins into it. But they also use these things because it's cheaper. So it's like, if you look at like what a lot of people are using, which is you go to any store, right? And if you pick up candles, by law, technically, they don't have to state what's inside of it. You just see the scent on it. Like, you would just see, okay,
oh wow,
coffee scented. They don't necessarily. The next time you guys are in the store, I would like you guys to go wherever candles are sold.
Yeah.
Wherever candles are sold, and just look at the bottom of it, and they could say whatever. Same thing with our food. You know what I'm saying? They're not technically telling us what's in our food or where it's from, and by law, they don't really have to place what's inside of the things that you're getting. And 9 times out of 10, at least for me, I can honestly say this, before I delved into the science of it, I'm just picking something up. If the shit smells good, I'm buying it. I'm not really thinking too much about it. And
guilty.
Yeah, same.
It's a lot of practices that we have to literally unlearn, but it starts with 1, doing your research, and 2, trying to change the narrative behind the things that we blindly support. We bring so many things into our home, not just candles, but like cleaning products, toothpaste, like things that we use on a daily basis that are literally causing harm to us. But because we don't know any better, we're not knowing to like look for these things, we're just blindly purchasing these things because a label looks good, or because it's marketed in a certain way, or because it's cheaper. Like, cheaper doesn't necessarily always mean a deal. Like, we're poisoning ourselves, and we see where the world is going. We see what the government is doing. We see all these things, and if we could do anything to help or to aid with that, I'm happy to be a part of that conversation of like pushing the culture forward in a way where our health is first. We're not compromising our health for luxury. We're not compromising our health to enjoy the things that we love. So
now, on a personal note, you're very vocal about how having a supportive husband in Kyrie has definitely impacted your business. So shout out to my boy Kyrie.
Yes.
But now, he is a creative in his own right. I know he has a music background. I'm curious, does he ever hop into the creative side of Lit Brooklyn as well?
So I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. Kyrie, I don't care what other people think, right? Like, if I like something, I don't need your cosign. Like, I'm just like, I'm so confident that I like it.
You don't need a yes man.
Every stunt that I've ever put out, he has definitely been like, nah, this shit's fire. This shit is fire. And it's like, when you're married to someone or you're with someone, it's like, are you just saying this shit so therefore like
right?
We don't like, but we're actually, this is a Blue Dope exclusive. We're actually working on something.
Come on.
It's coming soon for the summer. We're working on something together because I wanted like, the way I look at it, you even said it to yourself, Blue, like when you're as a man, when you're shopping for candles, like you don't necessarily, you don't care. You just like, if it smells good, whatever. Yeah. But I feel like candles are something that men should care about. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a single man, if you're married or whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean that self-care is not a thing for you. That doesn't mean that you don't want your crib to smell good or your place to be a thing. So um, I'm introducing that aspect to Lit Brooklyn by bringing his forte in. Like, we're gonna see what he thinks.
There you go.
So,
There you go. Get
Yeah.
that man's piece. That what the fellas want.
Because men need love too. Men definitely need
All
love.
day.
Actually, one of my best selling candles is Bow. It's actually a tobacco scented candle, and a lot of women are attracted to that. And it's like,
Wow.
we love manlier scents sometimes. You know, like you want to
Yeah.
smell like Bay's t-shirt, or like you want to like. And some women just are drawn to it too. So, but we need to pay attention to them, and it's not always about the women. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. It's not always about the women.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space.
Men need love too.
It's understood. I definitely understand that, and I agree with it.
Now, on the flip side, how do you think your business would have been impacted if you had a husband that wasn't as supportive or just unsupportive? Because we've definitely heard stories from female women entrepreneurs that have they've had distractions. So how do you think that would impact you the other way?
How would my business be impacted?
Yeah, if you had an unsupportive. Yeah.
I wouldn't have a husband.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
That
there
part.
we go.
Period. Like, I wouldn't have had a husband. I don't believe in that. Like, I just feel like I don't subscribe to that. I feel like I have my own identity, right? And I've always said this, like, me becoming someone's wife does not mean that that's all that I am, you know? Like, we're multifaceted, multi-hyphened people, and I need someone to show up for me. You know, I'm vocal about that, I believe in myself, I believe in my dreams, but I also need you to be an avid supporter in my dream as I am in yours. So we would have not had been married. Like, point blank, period. Like, I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, and I feel
of course.
Like even on the flip side, even in terms of because he's an artist, he's into music, and I would hope that, like, if I was not supportive in his dreams, or I didn't believe in him, like how he believed, like, he would have been like, okay, you got to go. Because it's like,
nice.
Outside of all of these titles that we hold as individuals, the most important title that we hold is the one that we hold to ourselves, you know?
Right.
And we have to honor ourselves. Like, before I'm someone's wife, before I'm someone's daughter, I belong to Denequa, and I got to do what makes Denequa happy. And if you're not, you know, adding to that situation, and you're not, like, pushing me, or you're not motivating me, why are you here?
Yeah. So
why are you here?
It's obvious you are a strong woman. So was there ever, like, a breaking point while building this business? And what was that? And how did Kyrie show up in terms of, like, pulling you back and saying, hey, let's keep this going?
A lot of breaking points, a lot of moments where I'm just like, why did I choose to do something that I have to be fully present for? I have to be fully hands-on for. And having a partner that believes in you is super important. This is why, like I said, like, we could not have been together. Like, you need someone who's gonna, like, be like, listen, because as strong as you want to be as an individual, sometimes you forget your magic. Sometimes you forget how popping you are. Sometimes you forget that you are that person, and you need someone to be, like, in your corner saying, don't forget, pick your chin up, understand who you are, you know, reinforcing the things that you already know. So there's been plenty moments where he's just like, okay, this thing fell through, but does that change who you are? Does that change your impact? Does that change how you're going to show up? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cry about it, because that's what I need to do right now. I'm going to be upset about it. I'm going to go do what I need to do. But having someone who reaffirms what you already know, but you just need to hear it sometimes. Like, it don't matter how poppy you are, how many people know who you are, how many people are acknowledging you. Like, you need that person to ground you and be like, listen, none of that shit even matters. Like, how do you feel? Can you pick yourself up from the ground? So I'm so fortunate to have a partner who is like Kyrie. Like, I always say, like, I know everyone is like, okay, my person is like the best person in the world, but, like, I am so fortunate to have someone who just gets it, you know, like, who just understands, like, who just knows me, who just literally took the time to, like, sit back and observe and realize, okay, this is what she needs. This is what she wants. This is how I have to show up for her. Like, without me having to say nothing. Because I see and I hear also a lot of people who are in situations, like you mentioned in the past, who do not have a supportive husband, who like do not want her to take the reins. And it's like, my husband fully supports and is like, yo, my wife is a boss. She
Nice.
this is how she gonna show up. And it's like,
Yes.
I'm a boss, but I also know how to allow him to lead, which is also important too.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
a lot of women are in situations similar and they emasculate their husbands. They emasculate the men that they're with because they feel like, nigga, you know, these people know who I am outside here. I'm wearing the pants of this relationship. And it's like, I want to be a boss in my business, but I'm not trying to be the boss everywhere else. Like,
you need a break.
I understand my role and I play it well, such as him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's also important. But these are things that we discovered prior to even marriage being a thing. This is showing up fully as yourself and allowing the person that you're going to be with, your partner, your whoever, to understand, I'm not turning this shit off. Like, this is who I am. So it is what it is.
I really love what you're saying, because I think right now we're at a time and space where there's a conception out there that Black men are not supporting Black women, right? So you have a partner as a strong Black man who is really uplifting his strong Black woman. But I can tell from this conversation that you had a Black male role model figure, entrepreneur in your own household, right? So when we speak about dad, right? I'm a Black father, firstly, with 2 young Black queens that I'm raising. I try to give them daily words of affirmation. So I want to know from you, because I hear it when everything you're saying. What did your father instill in you? And what were some of the biggest words that you always think about to this day?
So I'm going to keep it really honest with you, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to be transparent.
Yes.
I'm going to keep it a stack with you, right? Because I think honesty is important. I think transparency is important. I think that like showing up fully as yourself is important. So my parents were never together. We're not together. My mom raised me as a single mom. And these things that I like, this is my way of honoring my dad, right? If I'm being 100% honest, my dad was not as present as I needed him to be, you know? So these things that I'm learning, and I also wanted to be very frank and say this, my relationship that I have with my husband is not modeled off of anything that I've seen. And this is not to take away from anyone that I know, anyone that, you know, anything, but when we got together, we were together in college, and I literally was like, I don't want to do what anybody else is doing. You know, like I don't want us to compare ourselves to anyone. I don't compare myself to people. I wanted us to create our own standard of what a relationship is supposed to be like. So everything that we are doing is based off of our communication with each other. It's based off of what we want to see for ourselves, you know? So in terms of, and this is not to take away from my dad at all, because he's not a bad person, but this has a lot to do. I learned a lot from him, but not from his teaching. You know, like I learned a lot in terms of what I learned from my dad, what I did not want in a man and what I did want in a man, if that makes sense to you. You know what I'm saying? So like, 100%. I feel like our parents are our number one teachers. And I just wanted to just make that clear, because another thing that I think a lot of people are like guilty of doing is trying to create like a picture perfect cookie cutter life. And my life is far from cookie cutter. My life is far from perfect, is far from anything. What you see is like literally a bunch of trial and error, me trying to figure out who I am as a person, as a woman, as a business person, as a wife, and I'm learning each and every day. But this is through my own trial and error. This is through me and Kyrie's own experience. Like I said, this is not from my dad, but I did not learn. There were no, other than just be like, my dad was there for me, but not in the way that I needed him to be. And I just want to make that clear. Like everything that we're learning is off of each other. But I do appreciate people who this is why I also feel like having a father in your life as a woman is very important, you know, because
Oh,
you
yeah,
navigate
absolutely.
the world differently. You see life differently. I'm grateful and I'm
Mm,
so appreciative that I was able to stumble upon Kyrie as a man, as my partner,
yes.
who was able to be there emotionally for me, because I can't imagine the dynamics of a fatherless daughter per se to
Yeah.
navigate the world looking for a partner, looking for things that you're yearning for, you know?
Mm.
So I can't credit, because I want to be honest, you know, I can't
Yeah, of
credit any of
course.
this from learning from my dad or anyone in my family per se, because there's no relationship in my family that I would want to model my relationship off of. You know, we're also
There you go.
building off of, and this is not to knock anyone's relationship, but we're also building off of society's old way of living, you know,
Right.
like in terms of like what's acceptable. And I'm 32 years old, and was acceptable to my 60-year-old aunt or my 90-year-old grandmother,
Very different.
Super
we're
different.
not doing that over
Very
here.
different.
So my standards are completely different. So there's nothing that someone 30 years ago can tell me um, about love or relationships unless you're being completely honest, unless you're being completely transparent. Yeah. So when I see those quotes talking about, oh, my grandparents were together for 60 years, but you guys aren't together for like 2 years. What was your grandmother putting up with? What was your grandfather doing?
Exactly.
Are we being honest about what that shit really looks like? And this is like in no way to say that my relationship is perfect, because we're a work in progress every day, but we're admittedly working through things, you know, like we're talking through things. We're like, the number one mistake people have is saying, I want my relationship to be like that, or their goals. Nah, you're your own
Mm-mm.
goals. Set your own standards. Be your own standards. Like,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
That's
you
it.
have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
words of
Mom, preach.
affirmation. No, this is facts. I want to be honest, because, you know, like when you hear people's success stories, it always comes with a bunch of bullshit. And I'm just like in my head, like, okay, where's the real? Where's the truth?
Yeah.
Where's the shit
We
that really
need
comes with it?
transparency.
We need realness. We need
Yeah.
people who are going to be like, I'm successful in 2021, but 2019, I was broke. 2017, I was this. In 2015, like we need the steps, because if we
Yes.
don't speak about the steps, we're going to have people trying out to be entrepreneurs and like, damn, I've been an entrepreneur for 3 months. Why isn't this working?
Right.
Preach.
So we got to be keeping it stack. So that's me keeping it a stack, because I'm not on here to like create no fallacy. I'm here to like be honest. So just
And
wanted
it's
to clear
appreciated.
that.
It's appreciated. It's real. And you know, a lot of people could relate to it. I could relate to it. Yeah, my father in my life, but emotionally, a lot of West Indian men don't know how to emote in that way for their kids.
It's
And
crazy.
it's yeah, it's a
It's so
real
crazy.
thing. It's a real thing. So, you know, I could definitely relate to that, where it's like, okay, now I'm on a journey of, you know, finding a relationship where I can properly
Yeah.
emote
And
because
you
I
know,
didn't learn it.
yeah. And you know also too, because like you said, you experienced it with your dad.
Yeah.
And also too, you're raising a daughter. So in your head, your ways of like what your daughter is going to, all of these things are necessary. So I remember when I was younger, I wanted my dad to be there. Like I wanted him to be present, like he was for my other his other children. Like I wanted him to be as present. And I was like, damn, like this shit is crazy. But as an adult, as I'm grown now, I appreciate the absence, because it kind of like, in a weird way, it prepped me for adulthood. You know what I'm saying? It
Mm,
prepped me to like for like the tough things. Not saying
right.
that like clearly I would have preferred for his presence to be there, but my story is my story, and it also made me maneuver a certain way. So like
Right.
when we have our children, like my approach is going to be different. It's not going to come from a place of, okay, yeah, I had my dad. No, I did not have my dad. And in the event that your life is different, I'm speaking through two different experiences. So you don't think that life is just one way, you know? So,
Right.
but I appreciate you though, Blue, for saying that you speak words of affirmations into your children, because I think presence as a woman now who's like dad is not here and wish that their dad was more present. I can't tell you, like, when you're navigating through this world, you are constantly searching for some shit that you don't even know what you're searching for. And it's like,
Right.
just little things. You hear your parents' voices. So just you even speaking life into your children, when they're in tough situations, they're going to constantly hear your voice. They're going to be like, okay, if dad was here, this is what dad would say, or this is what he told me in the event of whatever. So I think that's beautiful. I think that's commendable. And I appreciate I appreciate you for your daughters, like, or your children.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
I appreciate that. You know, I think for me, you know, even as a male, like I grew up in a single mother home. And I got to ask you a question, because you don't necessarily even have to answer this. But before your father's passing, did you have an opportunity to really tell him how you felt about that? Because even for me, I haven't had that conversation with my father. We have a relationship, we speak, but I've never told him all of my emotions. He's still here right now. So just a question for you.
So I was able to. And I will tell you this. Parents know their children, right? Like, regardless of how strained the relationship may be or how close you are, parents know their children. And I was so happy that in like, you know, like the last year and a half of my dad's life that we were able to like get closer in terms of like, you know, have regular conversations, or like, you know, like we were literally like touching base in that aspect. Life has a funny way of doing these things, right? Where it's like, okay, you don't even know, because my dad's death was sudden. So like even the way that it transpired was like weird. It was different.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me that if anything ever happened to him, out of all his children, he knows that I would be fine. And
wow,
that says a lot for someone who wasn't emotionally available for you. For you to know that I'm going to be fine means that you like, one, either, because I always say this too, men who aren't necessarily there in their children's lives, they know that the person that they had that child with is strong enough to raise that child.
Sure do.
My mom is a strong woman. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I always try to give her credit for that, because it's like,
yes,
the situation that you're brought into, and then having to like thinking you're in a situation with somebody, and then having to end up raising this child basically on your own. You don't set up for that when you're like in a situation with someone, right? So in my head, I know my dad knew that my mom was strong enough to do this shit on her own, right? With his occasional help. But with that said, it still doesn't excuse the behavior. I'm grateful that we were able to like, you know, come to some sort of like have a relationship per se, where I don't despise him, where I don't hate him, where I'm like still, even in this business that I'm building that like is completely mine, still finding a way to honor his legacy and honor his memory by taking the best parts of him and incorporating it into my life. Wow. You know, like some of his best qualities was the fact that he was a hard worker. Like the fact that he was one of, I think his mom had 13 children and he was literally the helping all of his siblings. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like those parts, because people are never 100% bad. And when you, it's like, damn, like you could have just tried a little harder because I'm your child, you know? But like when you take the good parts out of people, it's like, that's how you honor them, you know? Like that's how you literally show that your life that you lived, whether how long or short, that's how it's well lived, because at least you left an imprint on someone. So my dad being a hard worker, like that shit is in me from my dad. It's in me from my mom. And like, that's what pushes me too. Like on days when I feel like being like, fuck this shit, because it's like those days come, I just remember, one, why I started, and two, like, yo, your parents dead ass did not work this hard for you to not be excellent. And those are constant reminders in my head. Like we're not too far removed from slavery or like, like we're still living in that shit. You know what I'm saying? We're still currently living in that stuff. I have an opportunity to put my best foot forward. It's not even about the accolades or the accomplishments or the panels that I'm sitting on. It's literally about like, are you a good person? Like when you leave this earth, like how are people really gonna like think about you? And as much as I wish my dad could have been a better father, sitting at his wake and hearing how great people spoke about him showed me humanity. It showed me different parts. It's like, even if I wanted to dislike him for not showing up for me, I would have loved that. But knowing that he had the ability to show up for other people just said all that it had to say, you know, like
Yeah.
So you learn from your parents' mistakes. You learn from, and then becoming an adult, you realize, and a business owner, you realize that time literally flies, you know, like you don't even realize how fast things go. And you just know how you want to do things differently. Like I know when I have children, like my children are going to be my priority. Like I know that off rip, just because I'm coming from a different experience in terms of, I wish that, you know, they had more time, but
right.
That's it.
That's about it.
Yeah. Very, very deep thoughts. We thank you for sharing. We thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing.
Real talk right there.
I do hope you have that conversation with your dad though. Like I do think like it's hard though. Like it's kind of like, cause you know, when you grow up and you're just like, your parents go see you as a child and you're like, they're going to try to avoid that conversation.
Yes. Yes.
But you free yourself and you free them by being honest, you know,
True.
and approaching them in a space of empathy. Like, okay, I understand you were winging it. Parenthood was new to you. You may not know what you was doing, but I forgive you. Like leading it with that, it breaks the ice, and it also makes them know that, okay, I know you fucked up. I know you fucked up, and I know you could have done better, but at least like you're giving me grace. So
there you go.
Yeah. Honestly, I recently I had that conversation, and it's tough because, you know, there's the ego thing that happens with the West Indians where it's like, no, I didn't. And there's a lack of accountability. No, that didn't happen. You were there too. You know it happened. But like, there's that the accountability struggle that happens. So it's like, okay, you kind of have to meet them halfway. Like, okay, that they're over the age of 60. They're, you know what I'm saying? They're over 50 plus. They're stuck in their ways. So you kind of have to just find a way. If they are alive, meet them halfway. Meet them in the
that's
middle.
why we're here. We're here to break the cycle, like with everything.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's like, even with the career choices that we choose, like this was not like, no one, like, come on, like nobody was thinking that this would be the career choice that any of us would be in, but we're breaking cycles. You know what I'm saying? Like we're literally showing them, okay, boom. They should be actually fortunate that they birthed children to be in this generation where we're super empathetic. Yep. We're super forgiving, and we're open-minded. We're like, okay, you were bugging, but I forgive you. And that's the biggest thing right there.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
Now to lighten things up a little bit.
Yes.
We started doing lightning rounds with our guests, and we're not letting you escape tonight.
Oh God.
So no, this one could be an easy one for you. What is your word of the year for 2021?
Yes.
Overflow.
I like it.
Yeah.
Blessings, favor.
Yeah.
Everything.
To the overflow.
Everything.
Okay. I got a tough one for you.
Okay.
Biggie or Jay-Z?
Girl, Hove. Hove.
Fair enough.
What is your personal favorite scent?
Now, would I ask you to pick a favorite child?
You right. You know what? You got a point there. You have.
Would I ask you to pick a favorite child?
All of them.
Okay.
All
of them.
Yes, all of them.
Heard you. Okay, so besides the scents, what's your favorite perfume or cologne?
I'm so basic. So I like Le Labo Santal. It's not mine. It's actually Kyrie. So I'm always stealing his cologne. So.
Gotcha. That's why I said either or, cologne or perfume. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I love the way it smells.
What's next on the horizon for Lit Brooklyn?
What's next? Aside from the Skin Butter collab, I have another project that I'm working on that I think is going to blow people's minds because it's definitely not expected. It's definitely not something that we see in our culture. So yeah, we don't see it. Yeah, we don't see it. So that's what it is.
That's all the hint we're getting.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
We got one exclusive. That was a half of one.
All right. Okay.
We got 1.5.
Yeah.
1.5. I'll take that. So where can everyone find you and find Lit Brooklyn?
So you can find me. I'm on Instagram at dwil, DWIL. Lit Brooklyn is LITBKLYN. You can find us on Twitter also at LITBKLYN. And then when I'm in stock, which I will be restocking next week, www.litbklyn.co.
Nice.
Yes.
There you go. Denequa, it's been real. It's been lit. It was lit. It was dope.
Yeah, it was
lit.
It was dope. It was good.